But the media will make you scared of everything. They'll make the government scared of everything. I don't think we would have been, I mean, I wasn't locked down, I wasn't here, but like, as in I'm talking about my country. I don't think it would have got locked down. And I don't think the measures would have been quite as harsh. I think the media really stirred that one up. And you're constantly seeing this going on right now. You just keep trying to orchestrate some sort of fear and panic because I think they're addicted to it now. I mean, they've always been addicted to the fear machine. But this is a new kind of fear. And in a post-Brexit world, they have so many angles. And so many people have so many interests that it is becoming ridiculous. It is becoming ridiculous. The obscene thing that the media does, which I find most despicable, I have to say, but most curious, is they will whoop you up into a frenzy of panic and fear. And there's been no better example than with this petrol crisis we've just experienced. Now, the petrol crisis is kind of false, but there's truth behind it. It's like coronavirus. There's truth there, but like the reaction to it and the way they've made you feel is a bit crazy. And what do I mean by that? People have very short memories when it comes to this business. I do not. Okay. Maybe it was easier for me being outside the country and being in a place where I couldn't be bombarded by propaganda as much as other people because, you know, I mean, there's a lot of propaganda that goes on in places like Vietnam. It's broadcasted out of speakers on the beach. You ever had a nice afternoon swim on a tropical beach and had propaganda blared out at you as you're in the crystal clear water? Well, that does happen, but I don't understand it, and I'm very glad I didn't learn the language, because I tell you what, if you knew the language, bruh, your days would be ruined. So I guess I was kind of haven't experienced it as other people have, so I do have some sort of empathy towards how they're feeling, and this is also part of the problem. So look, when you had all the panic buying in the beginning of the pandemic, especially with toilet roll. And then there's some psychological reason why people hoard toilet roll, as bizarre as it seems, but it's because it's associated with cleanliness. And, and you don't want to run out of toilet roll. It's deeply ingrained in the brain box. So that's the reason, go look it up. I'm not going to explain the whole thing to you, but that's why people were hoarding toilet roll. And then, the media constantly panicked people into wanting the country to be shut down. And I do believe if they just chilled out a bit, it wouldn't have happened. And then people hoard toilet roll, and then they mock them for hoarding toilet roll. They mocked people. They say, look at these silly people with their makeshift masks. You see people with gallon empty water bottles on their heads. There's like an anti-COVID cone on their face. And we're going, look at these idiots. Yeah. I mean, look at the idiots. It's funny. But who made them do that? They didn't wake up in the morning and just decide for themselves. Oh, I'm going to put my child's Lego crate on my head and go to the shop. They didn't decide to do that on a whim. Do you see where I'm going with this? These outlets will whoop you up into a state of fear, and then they'll mock you and point their finger at you and shame you for what they've done to you. This is the kind of thing that's been happening with the whole far-right rhetoric. It's the same thing. It's the same deal. For years and years and years, people were fear-mongered into being very terrified of Muslims. Mainly Middle Eastern Muslims, for sure. Southwest Asia. Because the news cycle was relentless after 9/11. People forget. And then when we thought it sort of died down, then ISIS came along and they just ramped it up even more and more. Some people have grown up with 15 years of constant fear-mongering driven into their brain. Now, when you grow up being told that, the biggest threat on planet Earth is Islamic terrorism, well, guess what? You're going to be very fearful of mass immigration from the Middle East. And guess what? These people turn into people who are like, you know what, we need to calm this down. I'm not too sure about Islam, blah, 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 blah. And then what happens to them? Then they're labeled far-right extremists, and then they're turned into terrorists. What a funny game they play. Isn't that funny how they do that? They literally brainwash you to become their new enemy to point their fingers at. Now, this makes you be like going, wow, well, is this some sort of conspiracy talk? Bruv. I'm not saying it's by design. I'm not saying this is the big master evil plan. It's just how it goes. That's just how it goes. Okay? In life, that's just how it goes. You know, crack cocaine's bad, but guess what? It makes a shit ton of money. People sell it. Some of their family members become addicted to it. Destroys their lives. It's how it goes. That's how it goes. They create one enemy and turn the people who are supposedly going to be the victims of this enemy into the new enemy. How crazy is that? Well, that's life, baby. That's the media. This is why they've got to go. This is why this podcast exists. This is why I talk about this shit all the time. It's war, bitch. It's war. Yeah, I am a soldier. I'm a general. Well, I'm not a general. I'm like a propagandist. So what do they do now? Well, what you see happening now, we're not even sure what was going on with the petrol crisis, because I have heard from people I've met and also from digging around online that actually there isn't really a petrol crisis. What I've heard is, people like BP and Tesco have had issues with supply, with getting drivers and so forth. But Shell have not. So is there really a petrol crisis, or is there a crisis with certain companies? It's like the gas shortages. Now, we're not too sure. But what happens... But leave the gas thing alone. With the petrol, well, what do we see? We see people going out there panic buying. What happened during the whole pandemic? The media stirred them up into a frenzy going, well, we're going to run out of food, we're going to run out of this, we're not going to be able to do this. Brexit and COVID, smash it all together. You're going to starve to death at winter. And you have people going out, filling up 1,500 jerry cans and loading it up into the car. You get chaos in forecourts, people fighting over fuel like it's the fucking prologue to Mad Max, the prequel. Then what happens? Well, then they photograph them, they video them, and then the news outlets go, look at these idiots. Look at these. And they call them selfish. These selfish, despicable pricks. And everyone joins in and goes, yeah, sharing their videos around, sharing articles, going, yeah, look at these despicable pieces of shit. Hoarding petrol. How dare they? Why the hell are they hoarding petrol in the first place? Because I tell you what, no one turned up. I guarantee it, no one turned up at a petrol station and noticed went, there's no petrol here. Why is that? That didn't happen. They read about it. They've been conditioned into fear. Now, if you're a mad conspiracy theorist, you go, well, this is the master plan. This is the master plan. David Icke told me about this. This is just how it goes. They just whoop you up into fear. It's always fear. That's why I call the media, I don't call it the legacy media or the mainstream media. My perfect term for it, which everyone should be using, is the fear machine, okay? The fear machine. That is exactly what they are. The fear machine. Sometimes the rage and outrage machine, but mostly the fear machine. The fear machine stays in business by keeping you scared. It's the perfect way to describe them. Think about how they will make you so terrified of not being able to have fuel because you want to get to work, because hell, not a lot of work been going on. It hasn't been great, has it? You need to get to work. You need to do your shit. You need your petrol. And again, there's something coming. You're used to things coming and going, oh my God, what now? Then you go out and buy all your petrol. Then someone takes a photo of you or a video of you. Because you read it in the Mail or the Guardian or wherever it was on the BBC. And you're like, oh my God, We need to get petrol. We're all going to die and starve to death. Then you go get your petrol, and then they take the video and the photo of you. And then the next minute, the ones who made you so scared to go and buy fucking hoard petrol, they're calling you an asshole. They're calling you a piece of shit. They're calling you a prick. And they're getting everyone else to point at you and shame you too. Go, look at this fucking wanker. What a scumbag. As they throw your picture and video all over the internet. Everyone shares it on Facebook with rage faces emojis going, oh, look at him, what a prick. Oh, we should burn him and his children. Isn't that cute what they did to you? Isn't that cute? Do you enjoy it? Do you enjoy them doing that to you? Do you think it's fun what they do to you? Do you think it's morally correct? Do you not think that this shit needs to end? Of course it does. Yes, it needs to end. They are dying. The fear machine, the legacy media, is dying. So am I, by the sounds of that. They're dying. Let them die. Stop listening to them. Because bring it back. Look, during the COVID times, I don't know. If you walked out of the front door, there are these two arguments. I'll bring it back a second. There are these two arguments. I've heard Robert Greene talk about this. And he said, the reason why some people are kind of suspicious that COVID isn't going on, because many, hundreds of years ago when you had the plague of the Black Death and all this shit, you'd be walking around and you see motherfuckers dying everywhere. And you'd be like, oh my God, there's death everywhere. Oh my God, this is real. Whereas because you were locked up in your home, you didn't really see it as much as you would have done. You were just told about it through the idiot box. I'm pointing over there because there's the TV over there. The idiot box is fucking telling you. The moron machine, that's online news sites, is telling you. This is all telling you. But you haven't seen it. So you're kind of like, I don't know if this shit exists. Okay, that's what's happened to people. But on the flip side of that, if you think about it, if you were walking around and the media hadn't told you a single thing, imagine China hadn't told anybody and no one had found out. You might not even know it was going on. That's a stark reality. You might not even know what the fuck was going on. Might have been a few more deaths. It could have peaked and gone down again through herd immunity. You don't know. You might not have noticed. You might have noticed there was an illness going around and it was like, whoa, what the fuck is this? Jeff just died. Why? Because he was fat. But would you have noticed it so much that you demand, and don't forget, people demanded to be locked up in their homes. People have to take responsibility for their own shit too. Through fear, they demanded to be locked up. They demanded so much that people have gone out of business. People have starved. Because you were so scared that you demanded that this happen. Because the government is reactionary. The media stirs you up, then you go and you align yourself with the media. The fucking fear machine, the one that turns you into the monster. They create the monster and then they turn you into the new monster. That's what they do. Okay? This isn't a big conspiracy theory. This isn't by design. Like I said, this is how it goes. Okay? That's just how it goes. Accept it. We might not have had half of this fucking bullshit. It might not have happened. None of it. Think about that. Next time you get shared something, like, look, that is poking at the fear inside, at the fear receptor. Like this. Just think for a minute. Pause. Think. Be like, okay. There's years. There's always think before you start doing some shit. Before you spread it on. Think. I know we've been conditioned. Wow, we've been conditioned to talk about nothing else but fucking coronavirus. Hell, we're all guilty of that. But there's so much more shit going on. I think people are going to miss it. The media are going to miss it, But you need to think. Like, you really do. You need to slow down. Because it's constant fear. It's very difficult. It is very difficult. When they're constantly bombarding you with images of so-called healthy people that have died from the virus, and they're fat people. Like, look at the picture and just go, right, okay, that's the healthy athlete that's died, is it? Calm down and think for yourself. Think about what you know about the world. And the media do this with the vaccination shit too. You know, they were saying, well, these idiots aren't getting vaccinated, naming and shaming people. And on the same page, it will say, man dies from taking AstraZeneca. His eyeballs exploded out his face. You know? It's like, all right, what narrative are you trying to create here? It's just fear. It doesn't matter. They'll fearmonger you into taking the vaccine and fearmonger you into not taking it. And then you're a monster now. Do you understand? Now you're a fucking monster. They'll fearmonger you into Brexit. Then you're a monster. They'll fearmonger you into not doing Brexit. You're a monster. You're all fucking monsters. You've been turned into monsters. Read Frankenstein, bitch. They need to update that. Maybe I'll do it.